shining bright lotus.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's just really a pleasure and a privilege to be able to share Junpo's words. I live in Green Bay Zen Center. So I had the great gift of actually knowing Junpo and practicing with him, doing Dokusan with him. He was quite the showman, and I'm sure you're picking that up from the book, or if you knew him yourself. And he loved to poke gently. So I also have a cat. I have the office cat here, and we'll hope that she settles down here because this is where she lives. So today we're going to be talking about no one has ever made you angry. Really? And that is a key premise to this whole talk. Junpo talked that a foundational concept of anger is that deep caring always lies beneath it. Deep caring is always felt first, and anger rises from within it, consciously or unconsciously. In most cases, this is a reflex brought on by our conditioned environment, and then also chemical, hormonal, electrical responses of our mind and body. Because we hear people say, right, I was totally taken over. I flew into a rage. I saw red, like they're disconnected. Junpo also gives us a definition of anger. He told us anger is allowing ourselves to be taken away from what's actually present on a deeper level: care, concern, and maybe fear, vulnerability. Mondo teaches us emotions like anger are not good or bad or positive or negative. It's just information, like all the rest of the emotions we feel. What your anger is focused on, someone, something, yourself, what's it telling you? How about at its most basic level, hey, this is important. Pay attention, heads up. Check this out. For me, anger is the proverbial finger pointing to a moon. Anger serves as a compass, the guide, and a method to reach a deeper truth, a more profound experience of my reality. It's only when we see ourselves out of the smokescreen, the illusions we manufacture, we can clear a path to understanding and transformative action. So I have a little tradition as the lead teacher at Green Bay Zen. Now I don't give away this big wheel, if you will, but this is an emotions wheel. And I give them away usually Valentine's month because emotions are kind of a focus during that time. And I suggest that people buy them as gifts for their family and friends. But I also suggest that if you give one to your partner, be sure that you have one as well. So they appreciate this is going to be a mutual gift. So what do I use this emotions wheel for? It can be a visual tool to organize our thoughts, to help us identify more than the core four: sad, glad, mad, and afraid. It can expand our emotional vocabulary with additional specific and complex emotions that may not come as readily to mind. This can increase emotional intelligence, and it gives us a voice to express our needs more clearly. Let's walk through a few scenarios around anger. So what's healthy anger? How about a boundary has, or I imagine, has been crossed, threatened, or challenged, either about something or someone I hold dear, or possibly with my own personal space? In my view, this is healthy anger if proportional to the issue. There's also, I would rather express outwardly anger than feel grief, guilt, humiliation, more painful and potentially perceived as less acceptable emotions. Maybe I've learned it's safer to express inward action, self-judgment, avoidance, powerlessness, rather than anger. Maybe you were one of those children or emotional adolescents who was told, "Do you need something to really be angry about? I can give you something to cry about." You learn pretty quick that anger is not acceptable. Consider how angry you feel toward yourself may just be turned inside out, a spilling over onto whatever and whoever happens to be in your path. Possibly you abandoned yourself, allowed yourself to be manipulated, been disappointed, disrespected when you swore you wouldn't let it happen again. How is that anger manifested? Inwardly, outwardly, both? I've heard people ask, why does my partner, child, parent, boss act so angry? Possibly this is an answer. If you're looking for people to fear you, to leave you alone, you think you want to be disconnected and isolated, well, bingo. Mission accomplished if you act out in anger. Think about in your own life, people who you love and care about, but they routinely act out in anger. How close can we really get to someone who pushes us away and who shuts down like that? So I have a personal example to share, and it would have surprised me a year ago to even to appreciate that I could have this experience, because I just, not that I don't feel anger, but it surprised me, the situation. So I'll just say briefly, I lost a very, very dear friend of mine in July. She died from her cancer. And I'll tell you, other than what I was feeling in the initial shock of the loss, and it wasn't like I didn't have time to prepare, I felt so angry. Oh, so very angry. And as I sat with that anger, when I really let it sink in, it was much easier to feel anger than grief, disappointment, and all the things we had planned on doing, the travel that we had talked about, the frustration of not having her at the ready to share. That's what I didn't want to feel. And anger felt good because I had all this energy and I didn't know what to do with it. So anger is tricky. And that anger felt okay because I just didn't have an outlet that was safe yet for me. And maybe you've had that experience too. So many times anger comes out of wounds. But we know it's not feeling anger that gets us in trouble. It's how we choose to react versus respond. A tall order when we're in the middle of it. Don't I know it? In reflection, and these questions are in the book if you're reading the chapter, you ask yourself, what do I care about? Has anger ever made these situations better? Did I get what I wanted by using my anger? And what might I say or do differently? How can we turn this around, befriend and relate to this important and very life-affirming emotion? Possibly by discovering anger as alchemy, as rich and fertile compost. The heat of anger can gather and focus us when needed. The energy of anger, that's its gift of clarity and purpose and the drive towards skillful means. To change when change is necessary, when change is required. Now I'm going to stop a moment because I want to remind you something else that was very clearly a Junpo teaching. So even though you're sitting here listening to my words, In the past weeks to other very wise and knowledgeable teachers, I want to be clear that we are only reminding you of what you already know. What you already possess is your birthright. The Song of Zazen affirms this. Sentient beings are from the very beginning Buddhists. This very place is the lotus paradise. This very body is the Buddha. You don't need any more or anything different than what you already have. I am only here to point to the path, encourage and support your personal journey. Like anger, just another finger pointing to the moon. I encourage you to sit with your anger, holding it lightly with wisdom and compassion. Look deeply into the trigger, the root of it. Name and embrace the message, the information, the knowledge it has for you, and transform your relationship with it. This is the practice. Over and over, again and again. No looking away, but leaning in. No trying, just doing your best, moment by moment. Which brings us to another juicy and essential emotion, fear, which I assure you is nothing to be afraid of. So looking back 300 or so thousand years ago, fear was a major driver keeping our ancestors alive. Without fear, most of us wouldn't be sitting here today. Fight, flight, freeze weren't psychological behavior patterns. They were the bread and butter of survival in a mostly hostile world. Fear, like all emotions, was crucial information. And just like anger, conditioned environment, hormonal, chemical, and electrical responses prepare our body and mind to act. We want to feel fear and get the adrenaline rush when we need it. Today, if a car is speeding toward us, we want to sharpen and focus our senses when we hear that strange noise in the dark. Is that the cat? Where we get stuck is when we have the distorted belief that experiencing fear is bad or weak, and we should avoid it at all costs. Or our concern is misplaced and out of proportion to the perceived threat. So let's look at fear more closely. Fear tells us, stop, hold up, take a second. This could cause us harm or discomfort. Many times in our more modern world, it's discomfort. Hey, check this out, assess it. What's our next step? But just like anger, what is rational and reasonable fear? Not surprisingly, usually things that are related to impermanence. We don't like that. Loss, insecurity, uncertainty, which we have a ton of, right? That's life. And then there's phobias, claustrophobia, heights, flying, snakes and spiders. Remember our ancestors? No ER or urgent care for them. One unfortunate bite, curtains. Public speaking still ranks up in the top 10 issues of what people are fearful of. I find that rather funny as I sit here talking to you, because trust me, my heart went pitter patter when that Zoom light went on. But just like anger, fear is information. Our work is thoughtful discernment, attentive awareness. Healthy fear is caution, not shutting down, not pushing away, not aversion. It has many faces. Our opportunities, our paths. How do we deal with this? It might be creating a plan, developing goals, assessing our resources, gathering support personally, socially, financially. Maybe it's recognizing dreams, undeveloped skills, exploring possibilities and potential. It could be placing your foot firmly on a new life path. Here too is the gold. Transforming the energy of fear into excitement and channeling it into opportunity for change and growth. Junpo taught fear is opportunity in disguise. Use it to feel that life force within us. Use it to propel us toward growth. How lucky for us, we are coming into a season where many traditions gather with family and friends, work colleagues, a rich field of practice opportunities. Setting and holding appropriate boundaries. Close proximity to people who trigger us potentially. I tell my own Sangha right around Thanksgiving time, ready, set, meditate. Yes, this again is where meditation can be the tool for us to find our choice point, our pivot on both anger and fear. Quieting our bodies, our thoughts, creating space for awareness, even for a split second, time after time, moves us from reaction to response. There is no stopping the triggering response. Reality continues on in an endless flow. And this self, you are part and parcel of it all, interconnected, interdependent. But in that pause that we work at, what we generate in our practice, we decide how to engage with ourselves, with others, with our own lives. We bring awareness to our triggers. We shine a light. We become the creators of our own lives. You hold the power to transform your life. Don't be scared. Well, scared of what? Don't be scared of being scared. There's some pretty scary stuff out there. And there's a reason to feel that feeling. Pushing it away is not helpful. Feeling anger, feeling fear means you're engaging in your life. It means you're alive. Trust me on this. Just recently, my great niece was telling me at a birthday party that she was going to be playing on the varsity basketball team for the very first time. So I believe she's like 12 or 13. And I could tell from her face how excited she was. But then as she explained it to me, as she talked more, she started to say, I'm so worried, and she didn't say these exact words, but I might not do well. I might let down my coach. Might let down my team. I'm going to look foolish. I've been practicing and practicing with, the basketball and the hoop and all those things, and I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing better, but there's all these things to remember. And as she talked, I could see this energy, this anxiety, this fear arising in her. And I told her, wow, You want to do well. Think about all of this energy. It's telling you that you're ready. Tell yourself you've practiced. You're going to walk onto that court as prepared as you can be. This is excitement. Feel that life force. Enjoy this rush. And every time you step on the court, it'll be different. Just like the times we sit on our cushion, right? Every time is different. Impermanence. It's another chance to practice. Another chance to know ourselves. So this morning, as I prepared for this, I heard those words that I shared with my great niece. Oh, Shunya, yep, you're feeling like you might mess up. You might not do well. You might disappoint the saga. You might look like a fool. So I have to listen to those words myself, practice myself. It gets easier, but the trigger doesn't go away. And it's not going to be all rainbows and unicorns. The universe doesn't work like that, does it? It gives you the experiences that you need, not necessarily what you want, but what you're ready for. So don't squander your life. Feel all of it, the great big mess of it. Feel it all, and you'll be okay.
Shining bright lotus.